Imagine a summer evening, your garden thriving, until you spot leaves chewed to lace and pests invading. With pesticides costing a fortune, or worse, bringing chemicals into your home, what can you do? The Amish, known for their natural and ingenious methods, have solutions that are simple, effective, and chemical-free. Their strategies will help you reclaim your space naturally and at almost zero cost. Chickens and ducks. On Amish farms, chickens and ducks aren't just a source of fresh eggs and meat. They're also some of the most effective pest controllers around. By allowing these birds to roam freely through their fields and gardens, the Amish harness their natural behaviour to eliminate unwanted insects. Chickens are voracious eaters of beetles, grubs and caterpillars, while ducks are particularly skilled at clearing out slugs and snails. Picture a sunlit Amish homestead where chickens cluck contentedly as they scratch the soil, hunting for their next meal. The ducks waddle through the rows of cabbage, their beaks darting out to snatch pests hidden beneath the leaves. This symbiotic relationship benefits both the birds and the crops, creating a natural and efficient pest control system. The use of chickens and ducks highlights the Amish commitment to working in harmony with nature. Unlike chemical pesticides, these feathered helpers don't harm the environment or beneficial insects. Instead, they contribute to the farm's overall ecosystem by fertilizing the soil as they forage. For those concerned about sustainability, this method is a perfect example of how nature can provide solutions to modern challenges. In emergencies or times of resource scarcity, having a flock of pest-eating birds could make a huge difference in maintaining a healthy garden or field. Watching chickens patrol a garden is one of my favourite sights. They're so focused, almost like little detectives on a mission. A few years ago, I added ducks to my backyard setup, and the difference they made was astounding. Slugs, which had been a constant battle, were suddenly a non-issue. It's no wonder the Amish trust these birds so completely. They're natural-born pest controllers. To replicate this method, start by introducing a few chickens or ducks to your garden. Chickens are best for larger pests like beetles, while ducks excel at managing smaller insects and slugs. Build a secure coop for nighttime protection and allow the birds to roam during the day. Be mindful of the balance. Too many birds in a small area can damage your plants. Instead, rotate their grazing areas to ensure they have enough pests to feed on without overwhelming your crops. For those unable to keep poultry, consider borrowing chickens from a neighbour or participating in a shared community flock. The idea of letting chickens and ducks patrol your garden is undeniably fascinating. But what if the plants themselves could join the defence? That's where companion planting comes into play. Companion planting. Walk through an Amish garden and you'll notice something remarkable. It's not just rows of single crops, but a lot of plants working together. This is companion planting at its finest. By placing certain plants next to each other, the Amish naturally repel pests and enhance crop growth. I've always found companion planting fascinating. It feels like a secret code you unlock when you understand how plants interact. A few summers ago, I added marigolds to my tomato garden after reading about their pest-repelling abilities. Not only did they keep pests away, but their bright blooms also made my garden look more vibrant. It's easy to see why the Amish embrace this practice so wholeheartedly. It works. One Amish farmer shared how he plants garlic among his lettuce to keep rabbits and slugs from nibbling away at his greens. He explained it's not just about protecting plants, but about understanding nature's balance, something the Amish deeply respect. Companion planting isn't random, it's carefully planned, with each plant serving a purpose beyond its harvest. This method aligns perfectly with Amish values of working with, not against, nature. By relying on the natural properties of plants, they avoid chemical pesticides, which can harm soil health and biodiversity. Companion planting also reduces the risk of crop failure by fostering healthier, more resilient plants. To get started, choose a few well-known plant companions for your garden. For instance, pair carrots with onions to deter carrot flies, or plant nasturtiums near cucumbers to ward off beetles. Herbs like dill and parsley not only repel pests, but attract pollinators like bees and butterflies. Plan your garden layout with these pairings in mind. If you're unsure, there are plenty of charts available online that list common plant companions. Remember, the goal is to create a thriving, balanced ecosystem where plants protect and support one another. In today's context, this practice is invaluable. Whether you're growing food for sustainability, preparedness, or just to save money, companion planting offers a pesticide-free solution that's accessible to anyone. Companion planting works wonders, but there's another method that's just as strategic: crop rotation. Crop rotation. For generations, the Amish have mastered the art of crop rotation, a deceptively simple yet highly effective way to control pests and maintain healthy soil. By changing the types of crops planted in a particular field each year, they disrupt the life cycles of pests that target specific plants. For example, after a season of corn, an Amish farmer might plant legumes like beans or peas the following year. This practice not only confuses pests that rely on consistent food sources, but also rejuvenates the soil, as legumes naturally fix nitrogen. Imagine an Amish farm at the turn of spring. Rows of corn from the previous year are tilled under, replaced with a vibrant mix of clover and rye to prepare the field for its next cycle. Each step is methodical, from planning the crop sequence to ensuring no single type of plant dominates the same soil year after year. It's a tradition steeped in respect for the land and its natural rhythms. Crop rotation is more than just a farming technique. It's a philosophy rooted in sustainability and balance. The Amish value simplicity and independence, and this method embodies those principles. By avoiding chemical fertilizers and pesticides, they protect their families, the environment, and future harvests. Healthy soil means stronger plants, and stronger plants are naturally more resistant to pests. I've always admired how Amish farmers take such care with their land. It reminds me of my own attempts at gardening, albeit on a much smaller scale. One year I planted tomatoes in the same spot 2 years in a row, only to see the plants struggle with disease. Learning about crop rotation was a game changer, and it's incredible to think how the Amish have been doing this for centuries without modern tools or chemicals. You don't need a sprawling farm to practice crop rotation. Even in a small backyard garden, you can rotate crops effectively. Start by dividing your garden into sections and assigning each one a plant family: leafy greens, root vegetables, and fruiting crops. For instance, if tomatoes grew in one bed this year, plant beans or peas there next season. Keep a simple chart or notebook to track what you plant and where. If you're new to gardening, focus on 3 to 4 crop families to make rotation manageable. Not only will this reduce pests, but you'll also see improved soil fertility and better harvests over time. In a world increasingly concerned about food security, this approach feels almost prophetic. Whether it's an economic downturn or a long-term emergency, the ability to maintain productive, pest-free fields without external inputs ensures resilience and self-reliance. While crop rotation disrupts pests' plans, there are times when a more direct approach is needed. That's where natural pest sprays come into play. Natural pest sprays. When pests get too persistent, the Amish turn to natural pest sprays made from everyday ingredients. A common recipe includes a mixture of garlic, hot peppers, and water, blended into a potent spray that deters bugs without harming plants or the environment. The strong odours and flavours repel pests like aphids, mites, and beetles, keeping crops safe without resorting to harmful chemicals. These sprays are usually made fresh and applied in the early morning or late afternoon, ensuring they stick to the plants without evaporating too quickly. Natural pest sprays embody the Amish belief in using what's readily available. They're inexpensive, effective, and completely safe for humans, pets, and pollinators. By avoiding synthetic pesticides, the Amish protect their soil, water, and crops, ensuring a healthier environment for generations to come. To create your own natural pest spray, combine 2 cloves of garlic, 1 hot pepper, and 2 cups of water in a blender. Strain the mixture and pour it into a spray bottle, then add a few drops of liquid soap to help it adhere to plant surfaces. Spray the solution directly onto the leaves and stems of affected plants, focusing on areas where pests are most active. Reapply every few days or after rain to maintain protection. This method works well for vegetable gardens, fruit trees, and even ornamental plants. It's an easy, low-cost way to keep your garden thriving. I was skeptical about natural sprays until I tried one during a particularly bad aphid infestation on my roses. The combination of garlic and peppers worked wonders. And it felt good, knowing I wasn't introducing any harmful chemicals into my garden. It's no surprise the Amish swear by this method. It's effective, affordable, and completely natural. For modern gardeners, these sprays offer a practical alternative to chemical-based products. They're easy to make at home and provide peace of mind that your food is free from harmful residues. Homemade sprays are a great tool, but the Amish often take it a step further by using trap crops. Trap crops. I remember the first time I tried trap cropping. It felt like a bit of a gamble. I planted a row of radishes next to my cabbages, hoping to distract flea beetles. To my surprise, it worked perfectly. The radishes took the brunt of the damage, leaving my cabbages untouched. It's no wonder the Amish rely on this method. It's both strategic and highly effective. Trap cropping is a clever technique that Amish farmers use to protect their most valuable plants. By planting certain sacrificial crops that attract pests, they divert the bugs' attention away from their primary harvest. For example, squash bugs that might normally feast on zucchini are instead drawn to decoy plants like blue Hubbard squash. These sacrificial plants act like a magnet, keeping the pests occupied and away from the crops the Amish truly rely on for food and income. This method is more than just functional. It's a testament to the Amish understanding of nature. A farmer might plant rows of trap crops around the perimeter of their field, creating a buffer zone between pests and the crops they need most. It's a strategy that requires foresight and planning, but it pays off when the primary harvest thrives pest-free. To use trap cropping at home, start by identifying the pests that are causing problems in your garden. Research plants that those pests are particularly attracted to. For instance, planting nasturtiums to lure aphids or sunflowers to attract stink bugs. Once you've chosen your trap crops, plant them around the perimeter of your garden or near the crops you want to protect. Monitor the trap crops regularly to ensure they're effectively drawing pests away from your main plants. If the pest population becomes overwhelming, consider removing and disposing of the affected trap crops to prevent the bugs from spreading. This method works well for both organic gardeners and those looking to minimize pesticide use. The beauty of trap cropping lies in its simplicity. Instead of relying on synthetic pesticides, the Amish harness the natural preferences of pests to control them. This approach reduces the risk of contaminating soil and water, while also safeguarding the pollinators and other beneficial insects that are vital for healthy ecosystems. Sometimes, though, the simplest solutions are the most effective. The Amish rely on the age-old practice of hand-picking pests, a hands-on approach that keeps their crops safe. Hand-picking. In true Amish fashion, sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. Hand-picking pests is exactly what it sounds like, physically removing bugs from plants. This method is as low-tech as it gets, requiring nothing more than a sharp eye, steady hands, and a bucket of soapy water to dispose of the unwanted critters. On a sunny morning, you might see an Amish farmer and their children walking through their vegetable rows, carefully inspecting each leaf for beetles, caterpillars, or squash bugs. It's a labour-intensive process, but for the Amish, it's also an opportunity to connect with their crops and ensure every plant is thriving. They even teach their children to identify different pests, turning this chore into a valuable lesson in stewardship. Hand-picking might seem outdated, but it's one of the most eco-friendly pest control methods around. It allows farmers to directly manage infestations without harming beneficial insects or introducing toxins into the environment. For the Amish, who strive to live in harmony with nature, this hands-on approach is perfectly in line with their values. In a crisis, when commercial pest control options may not be available, the simplicity of hand-picking makes it indispensable. It's proof that even the most basic methods can yield powerful results when done consistently and with care. Anyone with a garden can incorporate hand-picking into their routine. Start by setting aside time in the early morning or late afternoon, when pests are most active. Bring a bucket filled with soapy water to drop the pests into, as this ensures they won't return to your plants. Focus on vulnerable crops like tomatoes, cucumbers or cabbage, and examine the undersides of leaves, where insects often hide. For larger pests like slugs, use a small stick or tongs to avoid handling them directly. Regular inspection is key. Catching pests early can save you from major infestations later. Of course, hand-picking only works if your plants are strong and healthy. That's why the Amish prioritize healthy soil, which acts as a natural defense against pests. Healthy soil management. For the Amish, healthy soil is the foundation of pest-resistant farming. They invest time and effort into building nutrient-rich, fertile soil using compost and natural fertilizers. By enriching the soil, they grow stronger, more resilient plants that can naturally fend off pests. This process begins with composting organic matter like kitchen scraps, manure and crop residues, which are carefully turned and allowed to decompose over time. On Amish farms, it's not uncommon to see a compost heap steaming on a cold morning, which proves the natural process of breaking down materials into rich, dark humus. Once ready, this compost is spread evenly across the fields or gardens, ensuring plants have access to the nutrients they need to thrive. Strong plants are less appealing to pests and can recover quickly from minor infestations, making this a proactive approach to pest control. Healthy soil management isn't just about pest control, it's a holistic practice that supports the entire farming ecosystem. For the Amish, this aligns with their values of sustainability and stewardship. Fertile soil leads to better harvests, healthier plants, and fewer chemical interventions. To create your own compost pile at home. Start by collecting kitchen scraps like vegetable peels, coffee grounds, and eggshells, and layer them with yard waste such as leaves or grass clippings. Turn the pile every few weeks to aerate it and speed up decomposition. Once the compost is ready, spread it over your garden beds before planting. You can also use natural fertilizers like bone meal or fish emulsion to give your plants an extra boost. By focusing on soil health, you'll not only grow more robust crops, but also reduce the likelihood of pest infestations. In any emergency, maintaining soil fertility becomes even more critical. When external inputs like fertilizers are unavailable, well-maintained soil ensures crops can continue to grow and provide food. This method also improves water retention and prevents soil erosion, making it a cornerstone of sustainable agriculture. Good soil is the foundation, but the Amish add another layer of protection with mulching. This method keeps pests out while nourishing the earth at the same time. Mulching. I've always been a fan of mulching, but seeing how the Amish use it took my appreciation to a new level. For the Amish, mulching is a cornerstone of natural pest control by covering the soil with a thick layer of organic material like straw, grass clippings, or wood chips. They create a barrier that prevents pests from reaching their plants. Mulch also helps regulate soil temperature, retain moisture, and suppress weeds, making it a multi-purpose solution for healthier gardens. Mulching aligns perfectly with the Amish philosophy of working in harmony with the land. Not only does it deter pests, but it also enhances soil fertility as the organic material breaks down over time. This means healthier plants and fewer problems with weeds or soil erosion. Imagine an Amish farmer spreading straw across their vegetable beds, ensuring every inch of soil is covered. This layer acts as a shield, keeping pests like slugs and beetles from crawling toward tender seedlings. It's a simple yet highly effective way to protect crops while improving overall soil health. To mulch your garden, start by choosing an organic material that suits your needs. Straw, shredded leaves, and grass clippings are all excellent options. Spread the mulch evenly around the base of your plants, leaving a small gap near the stems to prevent rot. Keep the layer of mulch about 2 to 4 inches thick to maximize its effectiveness. As it decomposes, add more material to maintain coverage and enrich the soil. Mulching works well for vegetable gardens, flower beds, and even around fruit trees. It's an effortless way to protect your plants while promoting long-term soil health. A well-mulched garden isn't just pest-resistant, it's a haven for beneficial insects. And these tiny allies are an essential part of the Amish pest control strategy. Encouraging beneficial insects. In Amish gardens and farms, nature itself is often the greatest ally. By encouraging the presence of beneficial insects like ladybugs, lacewings, and praying mantises, the Amish create a natural balance that keeps harmful pests in check. These garden guardians feast on aphids, caterpillars, and other destructive insects that can wreak havoc on crops. To attract these helpful bugs, Amish farmers plant flowers and herbs like dill, fennel, and yarrow. These plants provide food and shelter for beneficial insects, creating an environment where they can thrive. It's not uncommon to see Amish children gleefully pointing out ladybugs nestled on bean leaves or lacewing eggs tucked under squash vines. Encouraging beneficial insects is a method that requires patience and understanding of ecological harmony, values deeply ingrained in Amish culture. This approach reduces the need for chemical pesticides, ensuring that the land remains healthy and fertile for future generations. Beneficial insects not only protect plants, but also contribute to a thriving ecosystem, supporting pollinators and improving overall biodiversity. There's something magical about watching nature take care of itself. I remember the first time I saw a praying mantis in my garden. Its slow, deliberate movements were mesmerizing. Within days, the aphid problem on my peppers had vanished. It's incredible to think that the Amish have perfected this balance for centuries, simply by inviting nature to do what it does best. To encourage beneficial insects in your garden, start by planting a variety of nectar-rich flowers and herbs such as marigolds, lavender, and cilantro. Avoid using broad-spectrum pesticides, as they can harm the very insects you want to attract. Creating habitats like small rock piles or bug hotels can also provide shelter for these helpful creatures. Consider purchasing live ladybugs or praying mantis egg cases from garden suppliers to introduce them directly into your garden. Once they settle in, you'll notice fewer pests and healthier plants. The key is to create a welcoming environment that sustains these insects year-round. While attracting helpful bugs is genius, the Amish also rely on diatomaceous earth as a natural defense against crawling pests. Diatomaceous earth. In the Amish world, diatomaceous earth is a trusted ally in the battle against crawling pests. This fine, powdery substance, made from the fossilized remains of tiny aquatic organisms, is spread along the base of plants and in garden beds to keep pests like slugs, ants, and beetles at bay. Its effectiveness lies in its physical properties. It damages the exoskeletons of insects, causing them to dehydrate and perish, all without introducing harmful chemicals to the soil. I first heard about diatomaceous earth from a neighbour who swore it was the secret to her pristine vegetable garden. Skeptical but curious, I tried it on my tomato plants, which were under siege from ants. Within days, the difference was remarkable. It was like the pests just vanished. It's no wonder the Amish swear by this method. It works like a charm. Picture an Amish family working together in their garden, with one member carefully sprinkling the powder around delicate seedlings, while others tend to the rows of thriving vegetables. The process is straightforward, but requires precision, as the powder must be applied sparingly and only in dry conditions to maintain its efficacy. Using diatomaceous earth at home is remarkably easy. Begin by purchasing food-grade diatomaceous earth, which is safe for use around people and pets. Lightly dust the powder around the base of plants, paying particular attention to areas where pests are likely to crawl. For indoor use, sprinkle it along baseboards or in cracks where insects tend to hide. Reapply after heavy rain or watering, as moisture reduces its effectiveness. If you're dealing with larger infestations, focus on creating a consistent barrier around your plants to protect them. This method is cost-effective, chemical-free and safe for organic gardening. For the Amish, diatomaceous earth is a perfect representation of their values: natural, effective and sustainable. It doesn't harm beneficial insects like bees or butterflies, which are critical for pollination, and it leaves no lasting damage to the soil. This aligns beautifully with their commitment to preserving the land for future generations. Diatomaceous earth is impressive, but the Amish have another tool in their pest control arsenal: neem oil. This natural remedy disrupts pests without harming the environment. Neem oil. The Amish have long turned to neem oil as a versatile, all-natural solution for pest control. Extracted from the seeds of the neem tree, this oil acts as both a repellent and an insect growth inhibitor. Unlike chemical pesticides, neem oil doesn't kill insects instantly. Instead, it disrupts their feeding and reproductive cycles, making it particularly effective against pests like aphids, whiteflies, and spider mites. In Amish gardens, neem oil is typically mixed with water and a mild soap to create an organic spray. Farmers apply it directly to the leaves of plants, ensuring thorough coverage without harming beneficial insects or pollinators. This careful application reflects their commitment to sustainable practices that prioritise long-term health over quick fixes. To use neem oil in your garden, start by purchasing cold-pressed organic neem oil from a trusted supplier. Mix 1 to 2 tablespoons of the oil with a gallon of water and add a teaspoon of mild liquid soap to help it stick to leaves. Pour the mixture into a spray bottle and apply it to your plants in the early morning or late evening to avoid leaf burn. Repeat this process every 7 to 10 days, especially after rain, to maintain protection. Neem oil is particularly effective for vegetables, fruits and flowering plants, making it a versatile addition to any garden toolkit. Neem oil always reminds me of a summer when my cucumbers were struggling against a relentless whitefly invasion. A friend recommended neem oil, and though I was skeptical at first, the results were undeniable. Within weeks, the plants bounced back, and I didn't have to worry about any harmful residues on my vegetables. It's no wonder the Amish trust this method. It's both effective and reassuringly natural. In a world increasingly concerned with the effects of synthetic pesticides, neem oil stands out as a sustainable alternative. Its long-lasting effects and versatility make it indispensable for gardeners seeking to protect their plants without compromising the environment. For the Amish, who often rely on their crops to feed large families and communities, this natural solution offers peace of mind that their food is free from harmful chemicals. Neem oil is an excellent deterrent, but when pests persist, the Amish rely on physical barriers to shield their crops from further damage. Physical barriers. The Amish are known for their originality and creativity, and physical barriers are a prime example of their resourcefulness. By using materials like row covers, fine mesh nets, or simple wooden frames, they create protective shields that prevent pests from reaching their crops. These barriers are particularly effective against flying insects like cabbage moths and crawling pests such as beetles. I first tried using row covers when cabbage moths kept destroying my brassicas, and it was a total game changer. Seeing the lush, untouched leaves after weeks of battle felt like a victory. The Amish's use of these barriers on a larger scale is inspiring. It's proof that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. An Amish farmer might drape lightweight fabric over a row of lettuce, securing the edges with soil or stones to keep out even the smallest bugs. In larger fields, they might erect wooden fences or netting to protect crops from deer or rabbits. This hands-on approach reflects their focus on practical, long-term solutions. Physical barriers are reusable, environmentally friendly, and don't rely on chemical inputs. By creating a physical divide between pests and crops, these barriers reduce the risk of infestation while protecting the plant's growth cycle. Creating physical barriers in your garden is straightforward. For small plants, use row covers made of lightweight fabric or fine mesh. Drape them over crops and secure the edges with clips, soil or stones. For larger pests like deer, install sturdy fences around the perimeter of your garden. If birds are a problem, consider using netting to cover fruiting plants like tomatoes or strawberries. The key is to ensure the barriers are secure, but still allow air, light and water to reach your plants. With minimal investment, you can protect your garden from pests while maintaining a natural growing environment. In today's world, where concerns about pesticide residues are growing, physical barriers offer an elegant solution. They're particularly useful in organic farming and can be lifesavers during pest-heavy seasons. With physical defences in place, the Amish turn to crop diversity to confuse pests and create a more resilient ecosystem. Crop diversity. Crop diversity is the basis of Amish farming. By growing a mix of vegetables, fruits and grains together, they create a natural buffer against pests. Many insects target specific plants, so by interplanting crops, the Amish make it harder for pests to find and infest their preferred hosts. For example, instead of a large monoculture of corn, an Amish farmer might alternate rows of corn with beans, squash or sunflowers. This approach not only confuses pests, but also promotes healthier soil and higher overall yields. It's a strategy that reflects the Amish commitment to balance and harmony with the land, ensuring that no single crop dominates the ecosystem. Monoculture farming, where a single crop is grown over a large area, is highly vulnerable to pest outbreaks. Crop diversity, on the other hand, breaks this cycle by disrupting pests' feeding patterns. This method also fosters biodiversity, which supports beneficial insects and improves soil health over time. For anyone interested in sustainable gardening, crop diversity offers a path to more resilient and productive gardens. It's a reminder that diversity isn't just good for ecosystems, it's essential for thriving farms and gardens. To practice crop diversity, start by planning your garden with a mix of plant types. Combine vegetables with herbs and flowers to create a vibrant, multifunctional space. For example, plant marigolds alongside tomatoes to deter nematodes, or intersperse beans with corn to improve soil nitrogen levels. Avoid planting large sections of the same crop and instead experiment with companion planting to maximize the benefits. Over time, you'll notice fewer pests and healthier plants as your garden begins to mimic the natural balance of a thriving ecosystem. I've always loved experimenting with different plants in my garden, but learning about crop diversity from Amish practices took it to another level. Last year, I added marigolds and basil to my vegetable beds, and the difference was astonishing. Fewer pests, healthier plants, and a much more vibrant garden overall. It's no wonder the Amish swear by this method. It works beautifully. A diverse garden is a strong garden, but the Amish also grow specific herbs, like mint and lavender, to naturally repel pests while adding beauty and fragrance to their farms. Planting pest-repellent herbs. On an Amish farm, you might find rows of fragrant lavender lining a garden path or mint thriving in a corner near squash plants. These herbs not only repel pests, but also attract beneficial insects like bees and butterflies, contributing to a thriving ecosystem. Herbs like lavender, thyme, and mint are more than just fragrant additions to Amish gardens. They're natural pest repellents that protect crops from harmful insects. By planting these herbs around the edges of their fields or interspersing them with vegetables, the Amish create a protective barrier that wards off pests like mosquitoes, cabbage moths, and aphids. I've always loved growing herbs, but learning about their pest repellent properties was a game changer. Last year, I planted lavender around my vegetable garden, and not only did it keep pests away, but the garden smelled incredible. It's no wonder the Amish embrace this method. It's beautiful, practical, and endlessly useful. To use pest repellent herbs in your garden, start by planting lavender, basil, mint, or thyme near crops that are prone to pest damage. For example, basil can help protect tomatoes, while mint is great for repelling ants and aphids. If you're short on space, consider growing these herbs in pots and placing them strategically around your garden. Regular pruning will keep the plants healthy and encourage them to release their pest-repelling scents. Plus, you'll have fresh herbs ready for your kitchen whenever you need them. Planting pest-repellent herbs is a simple yet powerful way to reduce pest pressure without chemicals. For the Amish, herbs offer a dual benefit. They protect crops and provide culinary or medicinal value, ensuring nothing goes to waste. For modern gardeners, this approach offers a natural, low-maintenance solution to pest control. Herbs are easy to grow, require minimal resources, and can be used in countless ways, from cooking to homemade remedies. Finally, we come to one of the most resourceful methods of all, using wood ash and lime to create a natural barrier while enriching the soil with nutrients. Wood ash and lime. When I was younger, my grandmother used to save ashes from her fireplace to sprinkle around her strawberry patch. I was skeptical at first, but it worked like magic. No slugs, no snails, just perfect, juicy berries. Seeing the Amish use this same method on a larger scale shows how timeless and effective it really is. Wood ash and lime are natural pest repellents the Amish use to protect their crops from slugs, snails, and other soil-dwelling pests. After a fire, the ash is collected and sprinkled around the base of plants, creating a barrier that these soft-bodied creatures won't cross. Lime, made from crushed limestone, serves a similar purpose and also helps to balance the pH of acidic soil, making it less hospitable to pests. Imagine an Amish family sweeping up ash from their wood stove after a cold winter's night and carrying it to the garden. The fine, grey powder is spread carefully around rows of lettuce and cabbage, forming a protective ring that deters pests while nourishing the soil with trace minerals. It's an efficient, low-cost solution that reflects their resourceful nature. To use wood ash, simply collect the ashes from a wood stove or fire pit, ensuring they're completely cooled. Sprinkle a thin layer around the base of plants, focusing on areas prone to slug or snail damage. For lime, follow the application instructions on the packaging to avoid overuse, as too much can make the soil too alkaline. Reapply after heavy rain, as moisture can wash away these barriers. Be cautious when using wood ash near acid-loving plants like blueberries, as it can raise the soil pH. With a bit of care, this method can protect your garden while improving soil health.